the payment of customs charges. Besides, companies that establish their production in our zones can be connected to the infrastructure free of charge. They only pay to the current consumption of utilities, power, heat, water, gas. There's no payment for connection as in other areas. This is our success story. The project started in 2006. We have 64 residents with $14 billion of declared investment. Residents in special economic zones include companies from 28 countries, including US, France, Japan, Italy, Germany, Turkey. This slide shows you fairly known brands. For auto logistics, most interesting for auto manufacturers and component producers, the zones which are called industrial and production zones are located in Pskov, Kaluga, Lipetsk, Tatarstan, Samara, and Sverdlovsk. Let me also note that all such industrial and production zones are good for logistics, like not just production, assembly or components, but logistics operations are also allowed. This is what can be done on site. Our key objective is to prepare the site, the utilities, and do everything necessary for companies to come in and start their operations. Most developed sites are the ones in Tatarstan, Alabuga, then Lipetsk, which borders the Novolipetsk metal works, which is located fairly closely to it. Then the Toliati site is growing fairly quickly. By the end of 2014, it will be completed. And according to Federal Law 116, they already started building their projects, and residents can build concurrently with us. Now, the Kaluga, Ludinovo, and Pskov, they have design work underway. The sites are being prepared, and the Pskov site is now in the stage of infrastructure development. Now, what do SEZs offer to the auto sector? Why do companies come to us? This may not be a business case, but I will show you a little later. This is a unique location close to most auto manufacturers and the Russian auto clusters, like Toliati has a site within 2 kilometers from Autovaz and Nissan. Labuga has a site close to the Nizhny Kamsk and Naberezhny Chelny. Ford Solars is localized right on site. Moreover, there's also a special economic zone in Ulyanovsk, which is bordering the Ulyanovsk automotive plant and can supply the Volga region. Now, Sergei has said that growth in Russia is based in the regions. So please note that these SEZs are established in regions which have the preconditions for that. There's a real demand, new jobs being created. There's a growth of the well-being of the region. So there are all the conditions necessary for the automotive sector. This slide shows you, I'm not sure whether you can see it, but the slides will be available After the conference, the auto components and auto manufacturers. In Alabuga, we have an anchor resident. The key resident is Ford Solars, which assemblies some Ford models and a number of component producers who supply not just Ford but other auto companies in Russia, including car glass, transmission components, gas exhaust systems, and many other parts and components. Lipetsk has a vertically integrated chain presented by Yokohama, B-Cart, then Lanxess, Germany, B-Cart, Belgium, Yokoguard, Japan, who are integrated in the production of automobile wheels, and they supply components for Yokohama tires. And not so long ago, about a year ago, the number of residents in Lipetsk was joined by the U.S. PPG, and they will produce car paints of a new generation. The Russian Metallic has also joined in. They manufacture transmissions. Tolyatti, the closeness to Renault Nissan has led to the fact that it's not just General Motors who's a resident. They're localizing the assembly of Niva tires, but also there's a number of auto component manufacturers from the U.S., Japan, Spain, UK, and again, there's a fairly broad range of products being produced here for the automotive sector. This new coming company has laid the basis for new operations. We will continue this process. Localization will expand and grow, and we hope that this sector, which is one of the most dynamic in the ESCZs, will continue to grow. Our project is also continuing. In the past, we provided just a greenfield, that is a site with infrastructure along the perimeter. However, recently we started making projects with custom-made infrastructure. For the time being, it's only in Alabuga in Tatarstan, and with all the benefits for the investors. 2 industrial parks will be launched with all the industrial capacities for the resident companies who want to do logistics operations or manufacturing operations. One park is sponsored by an investor. Total area is 200,000 square meters to be launched in Q4 of 2014. The minimum area to be rented will be 5,000 square meters. It's fully connected to infrastructure. Companies will be able to use all the benefits and advantages, but the rent will be commercial from the operator. If the company comes as a greenfield, then the rent will be based on special tariffs which are linked to the cadastre cost, not the market rates, which makes it much less expensive. A second project financed by the state budget. This is the Synergy Industrial Park. It's also in the SEZ of Alabuga, 24 square meters of total area to be launched in September 2014. It's a module type building, and I also promised you an example from logistics. Unfortunately today, logistic examples in in logistic areas is there's just one such, and that's Heavy Global Logistic, a German company, which is doing logistics for McDonald's. It's not an automotive sector, but it's interesting in that McDonald's is many locations, many entry and outgoing and exit operations, which illustrates that logistics in terms of SEZs in Russia are possible. Heavy Logistics is launching in 2014 in Alaboga. They're building a project themselves, and as a 5,000 square meters or so of production, plus 1,000 square meters, a total of 6,000 square meters will be the building. 1,000 is the administrative part of the building. Now, to become a resident, the procedure have been minimized by the government, or at least they're trying to do so in terms of the number of steps to be completed to become a resident. The key requirement for industrial residents is to invest 120 million for the payback period, 40 million rubles in the first 3 years of operations. So for a standard, typical warehousing project with 5,000 square meters, including equipment and construction of building, this is a fairly reasonable investment threshold. Contact details are on the website. We'll be happy to take your questions either now or after this session. I hope this information was interesting, not just for logistics departments, but for those of you who are in charge of localizing your production in Russian. So we'll be happy to answer your questions in writing as well. Thank you. Thank you, Igor. If we have any hot questions right away, you're free to ask them. If not, we will give the floor to Sergei Mulyar, advisor of the Minister for the Development of the Far East of Russia. A zillion thanks to the organizers for inviting me to speak here. Thank you, Sergey, for inviting me to your session. Speaking about the Far East, a lot is being said about it, and much has changed. Politically, the situation's different, and this is a plus for the ministry that I work in. I'll tell you about the trends that are emerging in the shift of Russia towards the Far East, or rather Russia's shift towards the Eastern markets. I will try to briefly tell you about the key messages without overloading you with numbers, because there's many people from logistics present here. Auto component suppliers may not be as interested in what the tax burden is going to be, but still, you may want to have a general picture. Now, Putin has said everybody's going to go to the east, so we all started moving there. What are you laughing at? This is a clear, easy to understand trend. This is a clear announcement or statement, and the geopolitical situation is changing. It's benefiting us, and you can see the markets that we intend to target. Of course, the Far Eastern market is very small. It's just 6 million people, and car manufacturers, even Solars, is not in demand as they used to be. They're overproducing. They're trying to supply their product here, and they have facing problems in having their costs compensated. But we're mostly looking at neighboring countries, China, Korea, Japan, the emerging Indonesian and Vietnam markets. This is a list of countries that we intend to work with, and a list of industries: construction materials, timber, tourism, metals, agriculture, logistics, oil and gas, and infrastructure. What's important, in my view, is what prevails here is the resources, natural resources in the region that we intend to process and sell to the Asia-Pacific markets. This is also characteristic of the automotive industry. We've been talking with one company earlier today, and I asked this question: is it true that the auto manufacturers are trying to abandon metals and move closer to composite materials? And he said yes. And the one who's going to be the first one will make a leap, a technological breakthrough, because oil production has a related production of composites, and this may play an important role in bringing down costs and generating competitive advantages as compared to your competitors. This is the organization of our ministry. We have an idea to set up 4 new units. I'm not sure this is important for you, but just for you to have an idea, we intend to work this way. We'll have an investor agency, a corporation that will establish engineering infrastructure for our sites, the advanced development zones. Then the Far East Fund, which is there but may not be as effective. We'd like to make it more effective. It'll serve as a financial instrument. And an HR agency, because the employment in the Far East is 0 today, and that is true. We will have to bring people, just a slogan will not be enough. We will need to find ways to make the region attractive for human resources, for people that we would like to attract to work for the enterprises in the Far East. Now, the objective is to make the Far East as attractive as possible in terms of the tax burden and customs clearance, so that these zones are attractive and competitive, as Sergei has said earlier, on the market, because you need to understand that similar zones have been in existence for a long time already in China and Korea. It's a norm there. We got to be the first ones and the best ones here, because what we have on the law, on the law of advanced economic development zones, this is this step change or leap forward that we need to make. This is what the investors look at in considering entering a region. The second last column, we're losing virtually in all items, so our objective is to move to the right-hand column. This is not an easy challenge, and again, All these numbers are the basis of the law, and this will enable us to change completely the way we work with investors, the way we attract them to come, the way we win in this competitive struggle, in this competitive area, which is the Asia Pacific. Now, what I mean when I say advanced economic development zones, this include industrial areas or zones which play an auxiliary role with customs clearance, logistics support, financial, etc., etc., all the services around the industrial site. And the third is an ecosystem. That's where people will live, with social infrastructure, residential infrastructure, for people to live there and feel comfortably. This will be an absolutely new approach in Russia, different from what we had before.
Here you can see several sites that as of today are being considered as one of the best, most suitable for these purposes. We have conducted a lot of work. Around 400 sites in the forest of Russia have been analyzed, and the most interesting ones, judging on the basis of specific criteria, have been selected. We were very careful in selecting them. One of the main aspects that was of interest to us was the railroads connections, motor roads connection, the vicinity to business resources and other resources, the good way to the sea, etc. The next slide shows that we have conducted huge work, and you see the list of those potential sites that are being considered as of today and will be presented to the government. We are discussing now how we are going to develop them further on. These are the main protagonists of our ministry who are responsible for their work with the investors. It's not surprising that the minister himself is one of them, because for us it is the key task of our ministry. If you have any ideas and you wish to localize your production in the far east of Russia, please address us. We are always ready to help you, and the first figures of the ministry will be part of this process. Here you can find my contact details. And summing up, without confusing you with all this amount of information, I think we may be of interest to the enterprises who produce auto components and who are focused onto the Asia-Pacific region market and who are interested in the far east of Russia. You will have certain preferences. You will have the possible access to the resources, the raw materials out of which you may produce your goods and then deliver them to the emerging markets. From the point of view of the logistics, we think that we may be interesting also from the point of view of delivery and supply of auto components to Europe. I'm not dealing with logistics, so it's very difficult for me to understand whether this may be worthwhile or not. But we have railroad, we have the Northern Sea route as well. We have a possibility to find some compromising ways, and the logistics companies with which we have communicated, the leaders of the Asia-Pacific region, they are not dealing with automotive logistics, unfortunately. But they told to us that it is very attractive for them to have this base point in the far east of Russia in order to enter the European part of Russia and Europe on the whole. This was very interesting for us. So you may evaluate this possibility from your point of view and understand whether this may be of interest to you or not. If we speak about the far east of Russia market, as I've already mentioned, there are only 6 million people. But if we add the Siberian market with its 26 million population, this is already something. And what's the difference if you bring the vehicle from Europe or from the Far East? It seems to me that it is even a shorter distance from the forest. But you are the experts. You have to tell us how this may be of more interest to you. We're ready to discussions. We're open to discussions. We're ready to look for the compromise solution together with you. Provide the challenges for us, and we're ready to resolve them. Thank you, and I'm ready to answer any questions of yours. If you have any questions now, you're welcome. Yes, please. The first question from the last row.
Hi, my name is Michael Byrne. Company I represent is The Right Approach. I'd like to ask, because it's a very, very serious issue for companies who are entering the market in Russia, how are you going to overcome the problems that other cities and other special economic zones experience when infrastructure is changing, you're bringing new businesses into an area? For the first 2 to 3 years, everything's very profitable because you get taxes, incentives.
I'm sorry. Please speak a little bit slowly because
sorry.
you speak very
Many
fast.
apologies.
And you speak through the microphone. This is why it's not.
Okay. Effectively, if you take someone like Kaluga, one of the biggest problems at the moment for Kaluga is staffing issues. When you go into staffing issues. So, for example, right now, in fact, in Kaluga, staff are being paid more than in Moscow. There is a distinct lack of staff available. They are having to build new housing, redo the complete infrastructure to try and attract new staff.
Give us your question.
My question is very simple. How are you going to stop this happening in other areas which haven't got the skill sets required for businesses moving into those areas? Because everybody will need to be trained. And after a period of time, how will you help organizations attract more individuals to come with the right skill sets? Understand?
Let me repeat your question.
Okay.
I will repeat, okay? And you'll tell me, is it true, is it correct or not? You ask me how we'll solve the problem, solve the issue of the labor, yeah? And the labor, of course, with the skills which is necessary for the companies of investors, yeah?
Correct.
Correct?
Yes.
Perfect. As I told you, we would like to, как я говорил, мы создаем территорию опережающего развития, которая будет состоять из 3
territories that would have 3 main components. The first component is the territory where things will be produced, or the industrial site. Second site will be the servicing site. It envisages different logistics institutions, banking sector, financial sector, etc. And site number 3, which is of interest, of the main interest to you, social infrastructure, housing for this personnel, the personnel which we are planned to bring in. And we'll create a special agency, a headhunting agency to your order. For example, if the company is located in the Far East, on this territory of advanced development, and we know that in 2-3 years they will need 45 engineers, 350 workers with certain skills, we start acting via this headhunting agency so that after 3 years, when this company is going to launch, they will have all these people at their plant. Have I answered your question?
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much.
The microphone is not on, sorry. Then my question is, Елена Луканова, Adam Paul Logistics Company. We are not an investor or producer of cars. How long do you think the training and preparation of this personnel will go on? How soon will you be able to provide professional personnel, engineers, technicians, turners, and others to the investors' company? Very good question. Frankly speaking, it's very difficult to answer it because It doesn't take long to prepare a loader. I hope that we'll manage to resolve this issue quite quickly. If we speak about the people working at the industrial shops, I've worked in Kaluga, for example, for 7 years. It takes usually 3 to 4 months for these people to go through the special training courses Volkswagen or Peugeot have done, and Kaluga region actually understood their needs. They have created a special educational and training center where they train the personnel, and the time needed for this training is 3 to 4 months. As for the engineers, we'll probably not be able to train them, and this is not our goal. We'll be using a very simple and understandable mechanism existing as of today in the world. We are going to steal them from others. Maybe this sounds very ambitious, but we're going to practice headhunting. We're going to take these people from other regions, bring them to our region, and create such conditions for them that they will be willing to relocate. Because we understand that nowadays in Russia, nobody will go to the Far East just for nothing. We understand that this is a task, a huge task, and we are ready to resolve it. Hopefully will be successful. Thank you for your answer. I think that the Far East is becoming a new Zelena or a brown land for Russia, and I wish you real success in that. We have several questions more, so maybe if you can bring the microphone to the first row. And meanwhile, there is one answer. The Ministry of the Far East has been created quite recently, so probably I can use another verb. They've maybe taken some experience from our side. I can tell you how things are going on in our region. I mean the personnel provision. All the special economic zones that have been created in the Russian Federation are not artificial 100%. These were the sites that have been selected on the basis of the requests from the regions, and part of those requests was the assessment of the human resource potential of the region. So this was not even the macro level. The evaluation of the potential human resource provision for the sites had been conducted. As of today, we may say that there's no lack of personnel in Alaboga, where we have a huge proficit of the working force, and we certainly are striving to achieve the welfare of the population, but the level of salaries is much lower compared to some regions closer to Moscow or Volga region. There's no deficit of personnel in Lipetsk region, and they have lots of people there from machine building or people who know how to use different equipment from the industrial shops. They also have huge railroad hubs around Lipetsk. There's no deficit of labor force in Taliati. If you follow the mass media news, the Avtovaz from time to time carries out optimization of the personnel, and they have people without work from time to time. There is the advisory board of the special economic zone in every region that is being headed by the governor or the vice governor of this particular region. So when the company is aiming to become a resident, it has a direct channel of communication with their local authorities, including the Ministry of Education. And some of our residents have passed over a request to the government of the region in terms of the personnel they wish to have at their plant, and sometimes even the educational curricula have been compiled specially for these residents, the companies being residents of the special economic areas. We have an example of Kaluga, were not in the format of special economic area, but there is a very positive example of this educational center that actually trains the personnel not only for Peugeot Citroën, but for all the other enterprises of the region. And this process is going to be used as a model for other regions. And we already have a process in terms of developing other educational centers in other regions. So we have good examples, model examples, and the issue is being resolved. Before we have the next question, hopefully the last one for Sergey, I want to add a few words myself. There is a question whether production should be located in the region or in the place where there's no workforce. And is the fact that this workforce may be relocated to the forest, may it be considered a competitive advantage? It's a big question, maybe more from the area of politics even, not economics. But maybe at the end of the session we'll be able to discuss on terms of this. Adam Paul Varvara Kansovich from Poland. My question is in terms of your forest program. Do you have any ideas in terms of foreign workforce? I mean, visas, housing, or the residential opportunities? Because you're speaking about this relocation of the workforce from other forces, I think it may be worthwhile if there's no lack of workforce in terms of conveyor workers, but in terms of management, I think you have to have another approach. And here, we all, the delegates of this conference, we exchange experience, international experience, and I really want to understand whether you have any program how to bring in the foreign workforce or people from abroad. Thank you for your question. It is very nice to hear such a question from a beautiful lady who is interested to go to the far east of Russia. I am answering to you personally. I probably will not answer to your satisfaction. We do not have such a special problem, such a special program. But the way it was resolved in Kaluga, when Volkswagen came to it and the first expats started coming over to Kaluga, they didn't have enough hotels in Kaluga. It was around 2006, 2007. We were really shocked. We didn't know what to do. We are not ready to have a similar situation in the forest. We have this experience, and we are trying to collect the information. As of now, in terms of agencies and the flats that could be leased, we are starting communicating with realtors or people dealing with real estate, so that the experts could be could have flats, good flats near the sea coast, actually. But speaking seriously, this is quite a serious problem with the visas for the expats as well. But if we compare it with the same situation in 2006, it is totally different. Today the trend is different. If you're a highly qualified specialist, you will have a possibility to get a visa much easier. So all the procedures are simplified for the highly qualified specialists. And we're doing everything to move forward in this area. But unfortunately, you asked about a program. We simply can't adopt a program in terms of how to bring in foreign experts. But we are going to move in this direction because we want to have highly qualified specialists. And at the first stage, if it is not a foreign company that will be launched, because the foreign companies usually trust more to their own specialists who have been working with their companies. But we understand that if those won't be foreign companies, will come across this problem at the first stages, and we're going to work in this area. Thank you very much, Sergey. We'll have the Q&A session at the end of the session, but I will sum up. There will be two situations, I think. First situation, there will be a huge queue of foreign specialists who will really wish to go to the Far East of Russia, and then the ministry will certainly solve all the issues. But this will happen only if they will have a huge queue of foreign specialists. But I myself doubt this. Second, more realistic situation from my point of view, the ministry will prepare all the production bases. The new residential houses were built, but there will be no foreign specialists. And then Russia will be bringing in foreign specialists. Because when Russia will really start bringing them in, the new mechanisms will come to life, and the simplified procedures for getting visas, etc., etc. Maybe Russia is not yet ready for this, and the ministry alone cannot resolve all these issues. But at some point, look at the example of Kazakhstan, the country that is used to be part of the customs union and now the economic Eurasian community. When the Expo 2012 was being conducted, they simply canceled visas for 20 or 15 countries, and the situation started changing drastically. But this happened only when they understood that they cannot proceed in the same way as before. So Russia will probably follow the same way. Either it will wait for the huge queue, foreign experts waiting to be led to the Far East, or it will create all the terms and conditions for the foreign specialists to go to the Far East. I want to support Sergey. We already have an example in Tatarstan where the number of residents and big anchoring companies is quite big. We're finishing building whole cottage settlements for the foreign specialists. In September, the school will be launched. It was certified on the basis of the international standards, and the education will go on in English. So the school is meant for the children from the families of expat specialists. So everything will turn out good one way or other. Thank you for your presentation and for your participation. And I pass the floor to Yasuaki Hikiyami, Logistics Director of Mitsubishi Motors Russia.
So, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Hikiyami from Solutions, and according to the facilitator, James, I am the first Japanese to make a speech at the Russian conference. So Japan was defeated at midnight by Colombia. So at the question and answer session, please do not ask the football. I think that the facilitator from England will agree with my concept. So it's very much pleasure to be here and have a chance to make a presentation to all of you. Today, my speech will be about the logistics activities and agenda in the future. The subtitle is From Moscow Centralization to Moscow Decentralization, even though we are now in Moscow. So I'd like you to deepen our understanding, your understanding of our businesses and propose some logistics solutions for the future growth. Briefly, let me introduce myself. In 1997, I joined the Mitsubishi Corporation, one of the largest trading houses in Japan. Since 1997, I have been involved in the wider ranges of logistics businesses in Japan, Europe, and here in Russia. Since 2012, I am Logistics Director of Solutions. We are an offshore distributor of Mitsubishi Motors in Russia. Some of you may be more familiar with our former company name, Rolf Import. At the end of 2012, Mitsubishi Corporation increased their stock from 40% to 49%. At the same time, Mitsubishi Motors, our supplier, joined this company. And after that, in May 2013, we changed the company name to MMC Rus. So with this slide, I'd like to demonstrate our logistics organization. First of all, I believe that it is very unique that both finished vehicle logistics and spare parts logistics are integrated into one department. The purpose of such the combination is not only to share the best practices and solutions, but also to seek for more efficient synergy of the shared services, such as custom clearance and insurance. Secondly, I'd like to say we are outsourcing the logistics executions and operations to external service providers. So our main tasks are logistics planning, development, and quality control. So today, some of my colleagues are here. So after my speech, please exchange the opinion. It is my pleasure. So today, I will focus on the finished vehicle logistics. So here, I'd like to tell you one Japanese keyword, ichiban. This is ichiban. In English, it is number one. So ichiban is a common keyword between our dealers and us. So according to the Japanese tradition, in order to make myself more excited, please let me wear this Japanese bandana to make. Give me 10 seconds. Thank you very much. Okay, so for our supplier, Mitsubishi Motors, the Russia is one of the most important markets. So this graph shows the last March success when the Russia was number one, ichiban, all over the world. For Mitsubishi Motors, 11% of the car were sold here in Russia. So this is the first time. I'm saying that Russia is number one, ichiban. So this is our product lineup. 5 models are import cars, Lancer, Pajero, and our electronic car iMIV are produced in Japan. And pickup SUV L200 is manufactured in Thailand, and S6 is produced in United States. By contrast, both Outlander and Pajero Sport are produced at Mitsubishi's Kaluga factory in Russia. So 2 models are domestic manufactured car. So on year-to-date basis, from January to May, we are ranked at 9th place, not ichiban, not number 1. Mitsubishi share is 4.1% of the Russian automobile market. But please be reminded that the Mitsubishi's growth ratio from previous year is positive plus 1.9%, although the foreign brand market decreased by 2.3% from last year. At the moment, the Russian market is slowing down mainly due to slump in sales in the field of segment C. However, it is sure that SUV's segment has been still stable and growing. So this means that the Mitsubishi SUV lineups are matching growth in the SUV segment. So I will show you more details at the next slide and a little bit advertisement. So this is the SUV market overview. We are ranked at 4th place. Mitsubishi has got positive growth by 6.1% higher than the segment based on the January to May result. So this slide demonstrates the medium SUV sales situation. So Mitsubishi Outlander is ranked at the 2nd place with positive growth by 11% from last year. So there are compact SUV sales result. The Mitsubishi SX sales decreased by 9% in January to May during this year, but still SX has 9.8% in this segment. So this slide shows situation at large SUV market. So Mitsubishi, Pajero Sport, and Pajero are showing positive growth, plus 70% and 50%, and occupied 2nd and 3rd places in this segment. Finally, please pay attention to the pickup SUV result. Mitsubishi L200 increased its market share by 33.3% and occupy the 1st place in this segment. Finally, I can say that we are Ichiban in this pickup segment. In conclusion, I am sure that the Mitsubishi is very competitive in SUV market, but this product portfolio affects our logistics. In the meantime, we are collaborating with 138 dealers as of May. So we have clear target to expand up to 150 dealers within this year. We have already developed the competitive dealer network in Moscow and St. Petersburg. Therefore, we should seek for the more opportunities in the regional areas. This dealer development surely affects our logistics too. So please see our current supply chain structure. So I have to return to the reality. So, this is my part. As I already explained to you earlier, 5 models are imported from Japan, Thailand, and the United States. And 2 models are manufactured at Mitsubishi Kaluga factory. So basically, import car arrive at St. Petersburg through Zeebrugge and Kotoka, and they are cross-docked with domestic manufactured cars at Moscow terminals and delivered to the dealers. So I'm calling this is Moscow centralization. But I'm strongly recognizing that we have to change our logistics for the following 3 reasons. The first is that the uncertain economic environment. So at the previous session, Mr. Logan explained the overview already. The second is that the more product focus on SUV. So it is easy to think about the logistics cost increases naturally if we put more focus on SUV, because the loading factor per truck per rail becomes lower and lower. And the third is expansion of sales dealers to regions. So it is needless to say that the transportation cost increases when we go to the regions. So I have to say that our logistics may become more and more inefficient without new solutions. Incremental logistics cost effects negatively on our price competitiveness in the market. This is a future concept of a new supply chain. I am calling it Moscow decentralization. The first possibility is to set up the Ural-Siberia depot located in the central Russia. Railway might be the fast candidate transportation mode between ports, Moscow terminals, and Ural-Siberia depot. However, according to our simulation, this concept is not yet practicable economically under the current situations. But I strongly believe that we need to go this way. The second possibility is to utilize the more potential function of the Far East ports. In the past, for Mitsubishi, Far East played a role of the only gateway for Trans-Siberian Railway. But we have to use Far East as our more strategic basement, which can respond to dealers' demand more quickly. The third possibility is to develop some Russian ports in Black Sea. The Black Sea may enable us to achieve the more efficient shipment to Kazakhstan too, which is operated our subsidiary company, MMC Kazakhstan. In preparation for Moscow decentralization in the near future, we are managing some trials based on spare parts and accessories. For example, last year, we did a trial by using the Trans-Siberian Railway. In addition, we opened the regional warehouse in Yekaterinburg. So for Japanese persons, Russian logistics is very unique because the territory of the country is huge and has a lot of severe climates and so on and on. But on step-by-step basis, we are accumulating our logistics knowledge to realize our concept. Again, so thank you very much for your attention. If you understand and agree with our concept, I am looking forward to a proactive proposal from logistics industry. So please support us so that Mitsubishi Logistics can be Ichiban or number one in Russia. So thank you very much.
Аригато. Спасибо большое, Николь. Если есть вопросы, пожалуйста. Если все запомнили все, что нужно, то мы переходим тогда...
Everything? Okay, we have one question. Yes, please.
Good morning. It was a very interesting discussion about Mitsubishi Logistics. Can I ask, does Mitsubishi Motors see logistics as a competitive advantage, particularly with your comment about Ekaterinburg and the Ural hub, or would you go with a shared system and work with other car manufacturers there?
So let me confirm your question. What is our advantageous point in the logistics, right?
Yeah, you're obviously very good at logistics. And you want to be Ichiban at logistics in Russia, yeah? So is that a competitive advantage? Is that something that you'll keep very close to yourselves? Mm-hmm. Or will you look to consolidate with other car manufacturers mm-hmm. and develop the Urals in the way that you've showed on your map?
I see. So, frankly speaking, we are in the middle. We're in the middle. But I want to say the 2 points. The first point is that we are focusing on the SUV market, right? And we have the competitive dealer network in Moscow and St. Petersburg. So, therefore, we need the more competitive specific logistics scheme for SUV and regional, right? The second, as I explained to you at the presentation, our company is joint venture, Mitsubishi Corporation, Rolf Group, and Mitsubishi Motors, the supplier. So the logistics intermediate between the producing and consuming. So in a sense, we can introduce the Mitsubishi Motors knowledge and the Mitsubishi Corporation knowledge to this logistics scheme. So I think this is our unique and advantageous point.
So probably there is no plan at the moment to share this competitive advantage. Если вопросов больше пока нет, то тогда я передаю слово Елене Лукановой, президенту Адам Пола.
Adam Paul. Thank you very much, Sergey. I thank all of you present here for your patience. This is indeed a very interesting session because we are having several platforms, administrative resources, and the opportunities for the development of the Russian regions, business representatives, a remarkable presentation by Mitsubishi. We know that Barbara will now go and work in the Far East. So all that's left for me to do is just to tell you what completes this process, and that is components supplied, cars assembled. All that's left is to deliver them to the regions, to the dealerships. And as you know, as of today, regions are 8 in number. There's 8 regions that we have today. Last year the situation was added. We now have the Economic Federal Administrative District, but we will not talk about that today. We will talk about the regions where the automotive industry is developing, the regions that have skilled labor and infrastructure. Infrastructure as a network of railways, roads, and compounds that help us, that make it possible for us to bring cargo together and take the cargo to the remote locations. Now, the idea, the concept today of what Russia looks like, speaking about a distance of 2,000 kilometers, if you're in Poland, our head office, then moving to France, I will be in France already. But if you take Russia, 2,000 kilometers in Russia is indeed a very short distance. Now, again, let me remind you of the western parts of Russia, the northwest of Russia, which includes in particular the Kaliningrad district, and Rogachev is probably afraid of me because last March we attended the Automobile Forum where the message was articulated about training people for component manufacturers, for construction companies, and not just for the so-called conveyor and new technologies, but for a 25,000 settlement. And this was what we had not just in Lipetsk, but in Kaluga, Toliati, in Kaluga, Kaliningrad, and this was discussed in terms of the Far East, as we heard earlier today. Now, looking at these issues, most important is how we transport, how we carry vehicles. Now, if you look at the first chart here, the results of 2014, the key transport is the truck. And the great presentation by Artem Shepelev, if RZD invested €1 billion in 4PL, they have all the chances to do that. then we could expect some increase in the share of rail transportation, which will grow by a minimum of 3% by 2018. But still, please be reassured that there's no railway in existence today that could take your vehicles to your dealerships. That's why there's still room for us here. And I keep seeing the same faces here, the same logistics companies, which means that we're talking about the reemergence of the automobile sector in 2007, 2008, when companies were set up, new truck capacities were acquired, the Euro 3, and such companies as Auto Logistics were established with a fleet of more than 500 vehicles. Companies like Taisu, Exis existed already. Well, Louis is busy now, but let me make this brief poll. Let's raise your hands, those of us truck carriers, and railway people too. How many firms were set up in the last 3 years? Can you raise your hands? Logistics companies with your own trucking capacities. Who of you, can you introduce yourself? That's going off the mic.
Я вас поздравляю, перед вами.
Congratulations. This is you have some very bright future in front of you. Great opportunity. It's great that we have somebody here, because speaking about companies present today, the age of these companies, I wish you many years, but at least some 10 years, so everything's ahead of you. Yes, particularly as we entered the Russian market with rail services. So it's happy to hear your forecast of 3% growth. That's going to be your 3%. Well, thank you. That's why perhaps we working in the automobile business, and I've been in this business since 1995. We survived more than one crisis. We are well aware of challenges, changes in the legislation, but thank God everything's moving in a very good direction. Back in 2011, instructions were signed and law on governmental level of the Russian Federation to develop the automobile industry for the period until 2020. So if something needs to be carried, there's got to be something to carry your cargo. And let me tell you more about our sector. I won't dwell much on the state of rail cars. I will only give you an example of two companies. One company where I started working, Anampol, it operates outside the Russian Federation, but it operates 47 kilometers away from the customs union, the Eurasian Union. Now, that is the territory of Poland, and you can see the condition of new vehicles on the left-hand chart. That's 86%. What's a new vehicle? A new vehicle represents 66% of Euro 5, 11% Euro 6, and 9% Euro 4. Everything else that you can see in blue, that's not a bad color. That's Euro 2 and Euro 3. So Euro 2 in our fleet, the European fleet of vehicles that also transports with our customers like Lloyd's, BMW, Ford, and such as Volkswagen Group. We do this with absolutely new trucks that go across the Russian Federation and ask the question to our contractor, because we operate as an owner and we use the services of contractors and we train them. A good company, our biggest contractor was Taisu up until 2008. 535 trucks. Of course, they were larger than we are, but they were our contractor. That we take great pride in that. So I ask this question: what's the state of your fleet, dear, say, Yuri? And Yuri asks, what fleet do you need? I need Euro 3, Euro 4. And he says, Elena, I'll give you Euro 8. How can you do that? Euro 8 is not manufactured yet. I'll give you 8 Euro 1 trucks and you will have Euro 8. So perhaps the idea is that to reflect what's going on, I'm not talking about companies that exist today, but you can see the vector today. You know what you could have think 10 years ago, a company like that, somehow Auto, Techno Import, Tasur, Exis, Technologistics, that's Euro 3 investment of 2008. What comes next? Of course, we're adding Euro 4. We cooperate very closely with Stani, and a surprise that I'm going to tell you now, we will use Hyundais, which will carry Kias. That's a news on the market, but we'll see how this is going to happen in practice, right? Right, yes, thank you. We're in the same club. So I wanted to tell you that capital investment in this business today is not easy, and by 2020 we will still be keeping the bulk of the market. Neither multimodal nor rail will take that away from us. And if we're talking about something, if there's any trend to identify, because we're still in a pessimistic scenario, cars are not selling very well. Banking services are not really good. There's no certainty about the future. Components are expensive, and Alexander Rogan said that the high ruble exchange rate to the euro prohibits us from buying components. So the only way for us is either we bring down tariffs or, and I will say that in the end of my presentation. Now, what we can see today is a very straightforward picture. What's the percentage of fuel and lubricants, depreciation, leasing costs, and how much a driver gets paid? These are the costs of any company like ours if you decide to set up such a company in the Far East and bring new cars for the 6 million population. The cars manufactured by someone like Ford Solars. Now, this is an ideal scheme. Transportation, a classical example, we're going from Moscow to Kazan, unload there, empty kilometers. Now, next loading location is in Tolyatti. Tolyatti will load again, only at a lesser price. That'll be 35 rubles, ideally, and then we'll return to Moscow for loading again. This is a simple example, and the rate there is today, I won't discuss any specific examples, any specific contracts. That's confidential information. But if we are to discuss how many days a driver spends on the road without forgetting the safety of the driver, the safety of our children, of everyone involved, everyone who's on the road, everyone who's driving, who's riding on the roads. So how does the real situation look like? This is an ideal situation. It won't take much of your time. We have a minus 14%. We don't have enough money, despite the fact that we've negotiated a minimum capital investment, a great, excellent leasing contracts, deferred payment for fuel and lubricants, but we cannot afford not to pay to the driver. We cannot afford not to buy insurance. We have liability, and where do we take those 14% from? We'll take it from depreciation. Why do we need depreciation? Euro 2, Euro 1, Euro 0 trucks. Why invest? How shall we invest, even if that comes on the agenda? And it will, because we managed to start a dialogue with our clients, most of whom are present here. One of them is sitting there on the right from me, Sergei Bobrisham, Goldness Rus. Welcome. I promise some interesting rates. I can promise you some interesting Land Rover, BMW, and other brands investing in the long term. So we can invest in new vehicles. We are Adam Paul Group, but this is not all the fleet of Russia. So today the issue is, what are we to do with this transport fleet? How do we update it? It can be updated if we have long-term contracts signed, if we take a transport vehicle, if we take it over, the customer will help us do that. Volvo can transport Volvo. Mercedes can be used to carry Mercedes, and it's no secret that Renault can be used to carry Renault, let alone Maria Scani, owned by Volkswagen today. This is one idea, but it's pretty costly. However, let me assure you that you can use our experience as a carrier. You will use us with your funding, with your opportunities in initiating the price, and opportunities of capacity to buy volume at a more favorable price. Now, I would add some 5% profit to the 14%. Let's not forget about that. We had a very short empty runs. The distances in Russia are huge, but Kemerovo, there's no plants there. Either we set up plants across Russia so that we can have cargo each time we come back, or we can reduce it compared against 25%. As regards next option, we probably have an excellent indicator, an example of 4PL organization, and we have to show this to them, to prove it to them, to demonstrate what's the condition of our fleet, how our drivers work, what training courses we offer them, how we hire new people. The problem is the same: people, and people. So I am very happy that there are no people in our company who leave us, but there's all people who are coming. And even if someone's leaving, Alexander Malishko, CEO of Auto Logistics in Adam Paul and the Victoria Group, this opens up some good prospects. And Igor Ventura, who was CEO of Vitera, and I would very much wanted to buy him out, but I don't know what's going on with your conference, but you are creating some unique conditions to attract the most talented managers in the Russian automobile industry. Thank you very much for that. Well, we would like quality to be on the same footing, to match price. We managed to achieve that, but most importantly, Russia, that produces natural gas, that can produce gas motor fuel that will cost half the price of the diesel. This is probably the idea for the development of the trucking transport for the next 5, 6, 7 years. What does this mean? This will bring about more accessible, environmentally friendly vehicles, which will exhaust some clean air, something like Chanel 5. And I can tell you that thanks to the cooperation with our dear custom clients, we managed to invest in one such vehicles. This example is on this picture. It's in real existence. This is in cooperation with Scania Europe. And as of today, if we know where we're going, we have to want it, we have to hear it, we have to talk about it with our distinguished clients. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Elena. Great thanks for your presentation. If you have any questions, you may ask them right now, one or two. The first row, please. Good afternoon, Dmitry Tikhomirov, Auto Group Company. Elena, it was very pleasant to hear what you've said. Even more pleasant since you are the first company who have undertaken the idea that I've actually pronounced in the autumn of 2013 in terms of looking for new benefits for your customers. Visually, the fact that the customer has to take part in the development of the automotive fleet with their money, thus acquiring new benefits in the form of price. And my question is, Elena, which benefits do you see for the customer from offering a more environmentally friendly transport? The microphone is not on. Oh, now it is. Great, thanks. We know each other with Dmitry for so many years. People do not live so long, so in answer to the question, I may say that the benefit of what may exist as of today in Russia, if the new technologies in terms of vehicle production are brought into Russian, if the business and production localization in 2017 will achieve 60%, I think that our young personnel, our engineers or designers, our KAMAZ, or maybe not KAMAZ, but in cooperation with foreign producers of environmentally friendly trucks, will be able to create the production of such trucks in the Russian Federation. I have always been a builder. I'm not a user. I'm a creator, and I've always wanted for our country, Russia, to develop, and the potential that exists in the region also to be developed. Why I mention this? Because if we have an opportunity as of today to buy such a truck with the costs for fuel and lubricants twice as low, I understand that it is not very easy, but if our fleet is outdated, we have to do it. But without the cooperation with the Ministry of Economical Development, we can't do this. This vehicle may go for 300 kilometers, and you can imagine what a network of specialized fueling stations has to be created in the Russian Federation. But I do not see any problem in this. If one filling station will be built 2, 3 or 5 around Moscow. This will mean cleaner air for the Muscovites. If in your city, St. Petersburg, a similar network would be created, it will be easier for us to breathe when going outside, not only in the suburbs of St. Petersburg, but even in downtown St. Pete. The idea is the same as where we're going to. We have to look and think about what the lungs of our children and grandchildren will breathe in. Maybe it is a bit pompous. Maybe it sounds a bit pompous, but I think that Russia, with its potential and resources of gas, has such an opportunity to create a network I'm speaking about up to Kemerovo, up to Siberia, because these are new places, new investments, new network of filling stations, including local production of the trucks that we, our company and yours, Dmitry, will be buying, and with the help of which we will be transporting the vehicles that have been trusted to us by our customers. Thank you, Elena. We're very close to lunchtime. I see your hungry eyes already. So if you do not have any questions to Sergei Bobryshev, I will probably ask instead of you. If you have any, you may also ask those questions. But there was a wonderful question about the environment, because I actually wanted to finish the session, because our session is named The Regions of Russia. We're discussing the very specific industrial questions, and this topic allows us to discuss that the business you are dealing with and we are dealing with is very multifaceted, and there are very many aspects to it. There is the ecology and the environmental issue. If we speak at the level of the federal ministry or even at the regional level, a lot may be achieved at the regional level. So this is a question of progress of the society's development. For many regions, this is also a question of unique competitive advantages in terms of the idea you've mentioned that you are cooperating with your customers. But many regions of Russia, they are really looking for, they have not yet formulated or worded up their unique competitive advantages. They are working and living in the competition in terms of fighting for investment, drawing of investments. Many of them still do not understand this, and some of them have not yet understood that their geographical location may be a competitive advantage. But some of the regions are thinking about it, and this may become one of the factors that will impact all this. My question to Sergei Bobryshev is connected with new realities. We've been living in the customs union for quite a while. Starting from the 1st January 2015, we'll be living in new economic conditions. From your point of view, will there be any changes in automotive logistics after this? Thank you for your question. It is quite evident that we are on the threshold of big changes. A lot of things will be changed in the near future. From the moment of the first automotive logistics conference in our country back in 2007, I think, a lot has been changed, and even more things will change. How big the changes will be with the creation of the customs union. We already have some new experience, quite positive experience and not very positive experience. The uniting of the customs space and customs procedures in this space has to bring some improvement and facilitation of these procedures. And that's what's happening now when we have exports from Kazakhstan. So our viewpoint is very positive. Will it be easier? It is easier already, and it will be even better in the future. That's for sure. So life is becoming better and better, and with this positive note, I want to pass the floor to the last question. Yes, just one comment. I hope it is a positive comment. Yes, a positive remark. especially before lunch, it has to be positive. There is a very simple solution with the help of which we can resolve all environmental issues and gas filling stations. The gas filling stations are needed only in big cities, in the cities where cargo is unloaded. I am the general director of Pareba, Zolotarev Viktor Borisovich. You have to deliver everything by way of railroad. That's the solution. So the railroad word, as usual, the final word. We can't argue with this on the one hand, but there are some other sides to it, and we're going to discuss them during lunch. Great thanks for taking part in this session. I wish you great success and enjoy your meal. Enjoy your lunch.